This. All right. Very sorry about the technical problem, and we will now do the puja. Offerings will be conducted by Brother Chim. All right. Over to you, Brother Chim. You may proceed. Put your palms together. Let's do it now. Observe the Buddha Puja. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. 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 Right, brothers and sisters, Dhamma, let's pay homage to the Triple Gem. Buddhang pujami, Dhammang pujami, Sanghang pujami. We'll proceed with the three refuges and the 5 precepts. So we together, everyone in the hall. Right. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. 5 precepts. Anatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adennadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu miccachara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musawada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Surameraya macca pamadatthana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Imani panca sikkhapadani samadhiyami. Imani panca sikkhapadani samadhiyami. Imani panca sikkhapadani samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Well, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, this morning we are very grateful that we have Brother Tan Chye as the Dhamma speaker for this morning. I'm sure many of you had been listening to Brother Tan, and we are very pleased to have him again. And just to give you a background of Brother Tan. Brother Tan had his early Buddhist education at the age of 12. Wow, that's very early. And he was under the late teacher, Venerable K. Sri Dhammananda, and Venerable H. Gunaratana. At his early age, he joined the Buddhist Missionaries Society, the youth section at BMV after completing his tertiary education. And also served as the exco of the parent body, and in been active sharing the Dhamma at various Buddhist centers. Brother Chye was the head of the Dhamma subcommittee while serving in the exco of Subang Jaya Buddhist Association, and we had appointed him as our lay advisor. Currently, he is also the director of Nalanda Institute, the education arm of Nalanda Buddhist Society. And he has been very active organizing, especially organizing committee of the Wachana 2017. The good thing, the concentration of his talk centered around daily practice of the Dhamma and how it has transformed one's life. He feels it's important to understand the essential teachings of the Buddha, as it gives Buddhists a strong foundation of knowledge which prevents them from wrong interpretation and the practice of the Dhamma. Isn't it wonderful? Oh, I'm sure all of us look forward to his Dhamma sharing. And today is continuing with the Dhamma talk, living a life of purpose and meaning. And this is part 3. Wow. I think all of us will definitely benefit our read. And it was very important is after the talk, we always reflect what Brother Tan has mentioned and where and which part we can try to practice. I shall now hand over to Brother Tan to do his Dhamma sharing, living a life of purpose and meaning, part 3. Over to you, Brother Tan.
Hello. Very good. Okay. Good morning, dear Dhamma brothers and sisters. Good to see you this morning. I think we are also online, aren't we? Yeah, we are also online. So I would like to say a very good morning to our online community, yeah, who are out there, who have tuned in this Sunday in the comfort of their own homes. But we certainly do want to encourage with the opening of or the relaxing of certain restrictions. We like to encourage more of our community to come together in the hall on the Sunday mornings for puja and some reflection on the Buddha's teachings. So as Brother Chuan mentioned, today is part 3, and I think it's the final part of the topic, living a life of purpose and meaning. So we went from 1 session to 2 sessions to 3 sessions, yeah, because there's so much to talk about, and it's essential for us to get a good idea, about what this topic is, so that it can affect our lives. The main purpose of sharing the Dhamma, what I have learned and what I have understood these past few years, is to further inspire and further motivate brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, yeah, to follow this path, to take on, the journey of understanding the Buddha's teachings, yeah, so that it can help us make good decisions in our lives, and also when we are facing challenges, when we are facing difficulties in our lives, the Dhamma that we have learned will come in to support us, yeah, to make us stronger, to actually motivate us to go through these hard times. It has been said that the Buddha's teachings is good when we understand suffering. The people who don't understand suffering, or it's not just that they don't understand suffering, they ignore the suffering. Yeah, there are people in this world who don't agree that we are suffering. They just say life is made for us to enjoy. So they tend to close their eyes to aging, to the aches and pains, that we experience. They close their eyes to disease, yeah, and physical difficulty, and they close their eyes to having people, and eventually we ourselves one day will pass away. So many people, they close their eyes. So they say all these things it is a test by the Creator. But we don't see it like that. We see that the Buddhist, the nature of life actually holds a lot of challenges for us. Yeah, a lot of difficulties for us. And so this is where we make use of the Buddha's teachings. The Buddha taught these teachings to help us to overcome whatever is ahead of us, so that we understand the nature, of life. We understand the nature of suffering. And when suffering comes to us, and we don't know when it will come, because sometimes we think our lives are very smooth and easy going. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, something unexpected happens to us. Yeah, we see that perhaps even somebody that we love very much, somebody in our close family, suddenly falls sick, totally unexpected. And then what are we going to do? So many people cannot take this kind of difficulty in their lives. But when we understand the Buddha's teachings, it really helps us, to have a stronger state of mind, to be able to meet all these difficulties, the loss, in our lives, the challenges in our lives. In fact, during the COVID pandemic, many people had to undergo great difficulties, great suffering. But when they understood the Buddha's teachings, how to train the mind, how to see things wisely, they were able to come out of the pandemic, with little difficulty. So this is where it's important. In fact, I remember some years ago, the MP for Subang Jaya, yang bahagia Hannah Yeoh, she was here in this hall, and she made a speech, and she said that every, if I'm not mistaken, every week in Selangor itself, there is one young person, which means below the age of 18, choose to kill themselves. That means they undergo, they take on this act of committing suicide. So if one a week, then we can see that out of 1 year, there are 52 suicides in Selangor itself. And so what she did was, she asked Buddhists who are well known, for training the mind, to find a way to address this situation, for the state of Selangor. She asked Buddhists, you are so good at, reflection. You're so good at orientating the mind. You have the methodology, the methods of training the mind. Can you do something to help the young people in Selangor? So this was the invitation, at that time, right? So now what I want to do is to continue with this reflection on living a life of purpose and meaning. And what I like to do is to go through some of the information that I shared in the previous sessions. Are you going to change? Or next, please? Or can I change it myself? I can change, Okay, right. So this is what we discussed over the past once a month. I have my monthly session, and then we discuss this, that when we talk about a purpose in life, Buddhists believe that human beings on this earth do not have a great common purpose. We are born into this world, we live our lives, and we live our lives the way that we think is good for us. We live our lives the way that we think is the most happy way of living life. Sometimes, we do get into difficulties, yes, but essentially, there is no great plan for Buddhists. Other faiths, they believe there is a plan. There is a creator being who created us according to a plan. There is a strategy to follow. So because we are created and we are born, we must follow this grand plan. But Buddhists don't accept that kind of an idea. We are born in this earth, we are born in this world, we have a thinking mind, we make our own decisions as to where we want to go, how we want to live our lives. Sometimes, we make the right decisions and we live our lives in a very pleasant way, in a very happy, comfortable way. And there are people we have seen, they make the wrong decisions. They go down the wrong path. Yeah, and their lives are full of hardship, full of pain, and full of suffering because they are not sure. And because of the circumstances, they are influenced by other people. They make the decision, yeah, that is not the right one. And because of that, they have to undergo a lot of difficulty. Yeah, for example, you know that when people are born in certain very rough neighborhoods that's, a lot of gangsterism, the way of life for young people in those type of places is to become a gangster, yeah, and to commit crimes. So if a person is born into that kind of situation, yeah, and they do not know or understand otherwise, they will be absorbed into gangsterism. This is what I have seen also from the young people. Yeah, when I was teaching in the university, yeah, my students used to tell me, I'm very lucky. I did not get absorbed into gangsterism. But my other friends, in fact, some of their family were taken into gangsterism and they lived their life as a gangster, committing crimes, sometimes getting caught by the police, and a few of them are in jail. So we live our life very much according to our environment. So if we are born in an environment such as here in Subang Jaya, it's a very comfortable environment. It is rather safe. Yeah, nobody will rob you when you walk along the streets. Yeah, I used to walk across to the summit to have my lunch. Yeah, I go there, have my lunch, and I walk back. Yeah, it's quite safe. Yeah, but there are certain places in the world I wouldn't walk along the streets. Yeah, because I know it's not safe. So what I'm trying to say is, we don't think there is a grand plan. There is no big strategy for us to follow, right? And things, we believe also, don't happen for a reason. Sometimes, out of nowhere, the unexpected things happen to us. And we also ask, why does this thing happen to us? Why doesn't it happen to somebody else? Why me? Why is it me, yeah, that has to undergo, yeah, this type of suffering? Why not my neighbor? Yeah, why don't all the difficulty, bypass me, go to my neighbor? Yeah, let my neighbor suffer. Lah. I don't want to suffer. So sometimes we ask that question, why is it me? Yeah, sometimes when a member of our family falls sick, yeah, or some, we make a mistake, yeah, and then the police come and arrest us, we ask this type of question. So this is what we believe. We can live our life any way that we choose. This is something that we have come to understand. Yeah, we have a human mind. We can make our own decisions. We can go down any path, either a good path or a bad path. It's all up to us. And of course, yeah, the conditions that are surrounding us. So when we have this type of freedom to choose where we want to go and what we want to be, it is a great human responsibility. We have to really think. Yeah, we have to really understand, what is it that I want to achieve in my life? Because if we don't ask that question, we will live life very, very, without any direction. We will just live, day to day, month to month, year to year. And before you know it, you already have a lot of white hair. Yeah. Your eye cannot see properly. Your skin become wrinkled. You get backache and neck ache and headache and all kinds of aches that you are having. And you get older and finally you pass away. And that's one life. But did you do anything with that life? Yeah. Did these people achieve anything for the community, for the world. In fact, if they are able to, right, to make people uh, have access to better life. So this is what we want to talk about, And in the last two talks, I gave different ideas, on this situation. So let us take a look at what my late teacher, Venerable Dr. Kesri Dhammananda said. Yeah, he said, the important point about life is we have it. We are born here. We are already here. We are born as human beings. And therefore, we must make the best use of it. Every day we get up is an opportunity to do something good, to do something worthwhile. And when all those days come together, then we see that we have a purpose. No, we are just not just blown by the wind. The wind blows us from here, we go there. When the wind blows from there, we go there. We do not want to be just simply blown by the wind. So when we have a life of purpose, we can have meaning in our life. That means there is a meaning in what we are doing with our lives, with our energy, with our intellect, with our heart and motivation. Let us do something worthwhile. And this is what my late teacher, Venerable Dr. Kesri Dhammananda, did. Actually, when he lived his life, I noticed his body was full of diseases. He had a heart attack that almost killed him. Yeah, when he was in the middle of his life, he almost died. But he came back, he recovered. Then he had a bypass. And after the bypass, he lived for another 20 over years, still serving the Buddhist community. There were times I saw he was supposed to give a talk. And he was so tired because he also had diabetes. He also had, actually, he also had prostate cancer. But he overcame that. So a man with this whole range, I open up one page, disease. He changed the nature of Buddhism in Malaysia. Now, we are all now, actually, you can see this plug here, this metal plug, it has his signature. He influenced us. He made the Dhamma available to the English-speaking Buddhists for a whole generation, actually 2 generations. Now the generations are going forward. So he made a great difference with his life. There was purpose in his life. So this is what he said. This indeed is the great value of life. We are human beings. We can think. We can make decisions. We can affect others. We can change other people's lives. So he did that. Many people lead narrow, unhappy, and depressed lives because they do not know how to make the best use of their life. They don't know what to do with it. Every day, think of something to do. Maybe I play mahjong. Maybe I go Genting Highlands. Maybe I have lunch with my friends. That is the scope of their decision. Their decision doesn't affect, other people. Their decision doesn't improve the life of others. So, late Chief Reverend, we used to call him Venerable Kesri Dhammananda, every day of his life, he wanted to do something for other people. This is something I noticed. If he wasn't writing books, he wrote so many books, he wrote so many leaflets. In fact, you can see some of the small leaflets are still with us. He was giving talks, he was building temples, he was, creating schools of Dhamma schools, here, there, everywhere. He was always doing something for the Buddhist community and the world. So, This is something I put in there so that we can reflect. What is life's true purpose? Yeah, and many people have asked this question. Actually, human beings, do not give it much thought because human beings just want to survive. But we are better than many human beings. We are not just surviving, we are enjoying our lives. The question we are going to ask afterwards, when this talk is over, is what am I going to have for lunch? It's a big decision. What am I going to eat for lunch? In many parts of the world, the question is, am I going to have lunch? They don't know whether they are going to eat for the rest of the day. But for us, we are going to eat lunch, we are going to eat dinner, maybe we eat tea, we have tea time. After that, we have supper. Wow, we have so many decisions. You can make those decisions or not. But there are people, as I said, they are starving. Refugees. There are so many refugees now in this world. They ask, what am I going to eat today? Just one meal. They will be happy. And we can have 5 meals, 6 meals. Still not happy. I want the best bak kut teh in Klang. How do I drive down to find that bak kut teh? So most people do not value their human birth. And they are clueless. Actually, they don't even think, what is my purpose here in this life? So the people who recognize, who understand this, that they must have a purpose. They work for the purpose. They understand what their life is all about. They are remembered for what they are doing. Of course, some have pursued a humane cause, while some have chosen, there are those also who are not so wise. They might be very strong and very dynamic human beings, but they are not wise. So instead of making life better, their purpose was to make life painful for others. So we also need wisdom. We also need to understand how we can help others rather than, disturb other people, give them more pain and suffering. So we must have wisdom, to differentiate good and evil, in our lives. So this is my proposition. I propose to you that we understand this. The purpose of life is to have a life of purpose. So here in Subang Jaya Buddhist Association, you can see people working week after week, sometimes day after day, without getting any reward. So it seems. They come here to serve selflessly. No one pays them. Anyone getting paid? Am I missing out on something? No, we are not getting paid. But we do this because we understand that we have to live a life of purpose. We want to be accounted for at the end of our lives. Before we pass away, we want to remember the things that we have done good for our fellow human beings. That is a life of purpose. Let me share with you now. He wasn't quite a religious person, but he was a very strong leader. Sir Winston Churchill was the Prime Minister of the UK during the Second World War. In fact, he was Prime Minister 2 times. He came back. After one term, he came back for another term, just like our Prime Minister who had 2 terms. He said, it is not enough to have lived. There are so many billions of people in this world. He said, we should be determined to live for something. So he was a strong personality. He supported the whole country through the Second World War. When they were being bombed from the sky by the enemy airplanes, he spoke on the radio to his people to unite them, to give them hope to fight against the enemy during the Second World War. And eventually, they won the war. They beat back the enemy, yeah, who was attacking them, and they created this new world order. So he was a very strong in his mind that his life was meant to help others, was meant to change, in fact, the course of history. Yeah, this was the strength, yeah, of Sir Winston Churchill. So how do we know we are important? This is a question, yeah, I asked when I was preparing this talk. And this line came to me. Or I saw something like this when I was reading, the material. The question we should ask, or the statement is, when your absence or our absence doesn't affect anyone's life, then our presence has no meaning in their lives. If we were suddenly to die today, we have to think, does it affect anybody? Would people miss us? Would people say, oh, I'm so sad, he or she is gone? It will make a difference. If the answer is, go lah, so what? Then our life has no meaning. We haven't affected other people. We haven't made life good or better for them. So when we are gone, their life still goes on. What's the difference? No difference. That means whether we are here or not, there's no difference. It doesn't matter. People don't really care. I don't know about many people in this world, but I think my life, my thinking and my energy and my heart, hopefully I can do something more than be a person so easily forgotten when I am gone. There are people here who are so dedicated that when they are gone, we will feel it deep inside. Like when my late teacher passed away, we felt it. Even today, we are feeling his loss. We are, we miss his wisdom and his effect, how he affected us in our life. So that was a great man, a great human being. We also should do something like that. We might not be able to do 100% like these great people, but at least we can do something to help others, to make a difference, to be remembered when we are gone. So this is an interesting picture. I use it for the saying. Yeah. Hopefully, the absence of us will be missed. Now, when we are gone, people will say, he did this good. He did this very well. Now, I said before, and I shared this slide, human life is very rare. And the Buddha said this in the Dutiya Chigga Jayuga Sutta, where he compared human life to that of a blind turtle swimming in the sea, and somebody throws a hoop, a round hoop. And this turtle is swimming blindly in the sea. What are the chances this turtle will pop its head up in this hoop that we have thrown into the sea? And it's floating. And this blind turtle swimming, what are the chances the blind turtle will put its head up in that hoop? It's very rare. But we don't understand it. We don't see it. We say, there are so many people being born in the world. Yes, it's true. There are many people being born in the world. But there are many other living beings now that are dying. And so they are coming into human life. But to be a human being, let me qualify that. To be a human being with the full faculties, to be able to see, hear, to be able to think, to be able to understand, is very rare. There are some people who cannot understand other people's suffering. Something missing from their mental makeup. They look like human beings, but they are not totally human. They might be something else. So this is what the Buddha said. To be a human being is very rare. And to be a human being, we can do a lot. So let us do whatever we can for ourselves and other people as well, plus other beings too. So we go back to late Chief, who said, as human beings, Venerable Kesri Dhammananda said, we must have an aim in our life. A person who does not observe a righteous way of life will never find the aim of life. So late Chief used to think and teach us, if you are a good person, you will see the aim of life more easily. He can even become a danger to society if he does not uphold some noble principles. No doubt, scientists and psychologists have widened our intellectual horizon, but they have not been able to give us the purpose of life. Even those Western scientists, they have produced nuclear energy. They have harnessed nuclear energy. Plus, from that knowledge, they produce nuclear weapons. And there's one man now threatening to use nuclear weapons on the battlefield. What purpose does it serve to go and threaten others in this way? To harm other people. So we have to know that if we have principles, the purpose that we serve will be good for other human beings. So let us reflect in this way. Follow up from what we talked about just now. If man is created, as I said, by an external source, then he belongs to that source. If we believe that there is a creator for human beings, then actually we must worship this creator, because this creator created us. And the purpose is not himself or herself, but to serve this creator. But according to Buddhism, man is responsible for everything he does. Buddhists do not believe, do not subscribe to a creator. Buddhists say we have come into this world because of the energies. There are physical energies, there are mental energies, come together, produce a living being. This is what Buddhists believe. So, because of that, Buddhists believe that man is here today because of his or her own action. This is what the Buddha said. You are here. We are here because we cause ourselves to come here, using this word called karma. If we have karma, we come here. This is what the Buddha taught us. He is not punished by anyone. This is important. No one is punishing us by giving us pain and sorrow and all this. Neither is he rewarded by anyone for his good and bad action. We reward ourselves, we punish our own selves. So in the process of evolution, the human being came into existence. However, there are no Buddha words. The Buddha never taught us that the world was created by anyone. So the important thing to understand here is we can think, we can make our own decisions. We are intelligent beings. Therefore, we have to choose wisely. So now we come to our purpose as Buddhists. Our purpose as Buddhists is to really practice the Buddha's advice. The Buddha's advice did not come from the Buddha. The Buddha became enlightened and he saw this. And after seeing this, he taught to us, this is nature. This is reality. This is what the Buddha taught. The Buddha didn't imagine certain things and then teach it. The Buddha saw what is real and then only he taught it. So the first thing that we must do, always remember, yeah, in order to understand our real purpose, we have to avoid that which is evil, unwholesome. That which gives people problems, gives them more suffering. We call that unwholesome. Do that which is good, wholesome. Anything that helps others, make others more happy, ourselves as well, that is good. And lastly, we have to purify our mind. The Buddha's teaching come in 3 parts. It doesn't come in first 2, and then you forget number 3. You cannot be happy if you do not purify your mind. And if we are not happy, we do not know the real nature of what we are supposed to do. If we purify our mind, wisdom appears. And then we make the right decisions. So therefore, I would propose, as Buddhists, we follow these 3 principles, these 3 teachings. Even further, the Buddha proposed this, taught this, and we can find it in the Dhammapada. He said, though one should live 100 years wicked and uncontrolled, it is better to live a single day observing moral precepts and absorb in meditation, purifying the mind, avoiding evil, doing good, purify the mind. One day is worth more than 100 years simply doing things just without control. This is the value the Buddha put on what we have just discussed. To do good, to avoid evil, to purify the mind. Yeah. In Pali, sabba papasa akaranang kusalasa upasampada sachitta pariyo dapanang etang buddhana sasana. This is the teachings of all the Buddhas. Etang buddhana sasana. All Buddhas that will appear teach the same thing. Next verse, yeah, which is verse 111. Though one should live 100 years, foolish and uncomposed, no training, no development, better it is to live a single day with wisdom absorbed in purifying the mind. So you can see what the Buddha values. What is important to the Buddha? It is live well, avoid evil, do good, purify the mind. So let me tell you now, I would like to share the periods of training of the Buddha. We take a look at the Buddha here and said, oh, the Buddha left the palace at the age of 29, and for 6 years he was struggling out there. No, and then he gained enlightenment. Actually, not true. Before he became the Prince Siddhartha, he already practiced the paramis for world cycles. We cannot understand the time that it took him to qualify to become the Buddha. It is beyond our imagination. But there was this being who worked hard. And there are 3 periods. The first period is what we call the period of mental aspiration. That means he thinks in his mind, I am going to become a Buddha. And it's a very, very long period. So as he thinks, I am going to become a Buddha, he practices the good. Life after life after life, millions and millions, billions of lives is the first period. He thinks only. Then he gathers confidence because the paramis are getting stronger and stronger in him. And then he moves to the next period where he has verbal aspiration. What is verbal aspiration? He starts to talk about becoming a Buddha. The first period, he only thinks about becoming a Buddha. The second period, he talks about it. And there are people today, living beings today, who talk about it. There are people today who say, I don't want to attain arahantship. I want to attain Buddhahood. So they are working for the long term. They are not working for the immediate term. Yeah. So I will not tell you who they are, but there are people among us who are aiming for Buddhahood. So their journey is incredibly long. The last one is the period of action, where he refines the paramis. Anything missing, he will top up. Only when these 10 paramis, and we must find time another day to talk about 10 paramis, when these 10 states are completely filled with no gaps, no vacuum, nothing left to be done, this person will be ready for Buddhahood. And I will now further talk about the period of refinement. Yeah. During the final period, the person who will become the Buddha will use 3 methods. The first method is wisdom. The second method is faith. The third method is energy. Panya in Pali, Saddha, and Virya. Our Buddha Gautama, when he came into the final period, he met this Buddha called Dipankara. And Dipankara Buddha recognized him. And this was incredibly long time ago. He said, you are living with a purpose. You have perfected the paramis. You will become a Buddha like me. And this is not in this world. The world cycles was unimaginable. So from that day onwards, this Bodhisattva, who would become, and has become actually, Buddha Gautama the Buddha, Shakyamuni, practiced wisdom as the main vehicle. And he went through, for this last period, the other periods also very long, but this period, he already have the visa chopped from Dipankara, the Buddha. He is sure, he is confident, he knows he is on the right path. His purpose is recognized. He is not just living blown here and there. He knows what he is supposed to do. And he embarks on using wisdom, panya, to attain the full Buddhahood. So, he went through 4 indefinite periods. Each indefinite period is called an asankhya. You cannot believe how long that is. And 100,000 world cycles that is. Universe come into being, exists, and the universe is destroyed. 1 world cycle. 100,000 universes. He worked with the purpose of becoming the Buddha. So knowing this, knowing the dedication, the commitment to becoming a Buddha, we better understand the nature of Buddhahood. Many people think he left the palace 6 years, pop, no problem, became Buddha. No. He had all these 3 periods of training, including the last period that I mentioned here, to gain full enlightenment. It is the hardest thing for any living being in this universe to do. Yeah. So therefore, the Buddha, the fully enlightened Buddha, the Samma Sambuddha is incomparable as a living being. Next, so deciding on a true purpose. So the purpose of this talk is to encourage Buddhists to reflect on their true purpose in life. Knowing that human birth is rare, I shared the sutta. It is extremely fortunate to learn the teachings of the Buddha. We should use the opportunities before us to accomplish significant achievements in our life, not just for other people, for our own self as well. So our true purpose should be driven by these two qualities, wisdom and compassion, to help others, to help ourselves. Yeah, like the Buddha and his disciples, we should aim at overcoming suffering and achieving the highest happiness and helping others to do the same. So, yeah, this is actually it. We must practice. We must put our energy into understanding the real nature of life. As I mentioned, the Buddha did not create this. The Buddha, it is in the fabric, in the existence. What the Buddha did was, he opened up his mind. He developed his mind so he could see the actual nature of this existence. So we, seeing suffering and the causes of suffering, how do we overcome old age, illness, and death? This is what the Buddha taught. Very simple. Nothing to do with prayers, nothing to do with sacrifice, no burning, no cutting, and all that. He just wanted us to understand the real nature of life. So, I'd like to end these 3 talks with the story of King, Sisyphus. Have you heard the story of King Sisyphus? Actually, some people call him Sisyphus. Okay, there was this Greek king, and he is shown here rolling a rock up the hill. He was so proud, the Greek gods cursed him. There's a hill, they created this rock, and he must push the rock up the hill. And after pushing it to the top of the hill, the rock will roll down. He will go down and roll it, push, up the top of the hill. And he will fall down on the other side. And he will go down that hill, push. So he was suffering for his pride. Yeah, because the Greek gods punish him in this way. What he did not understand was, after a number of years, because the Greek gods only wanted to punish him for a number of years. Even after that number of years was over, he loved this rock. He didn't have to push it anymore because the curse was over. The curse was lifted. But he still kept pushing this rock. He began to love pushing the rock. He go down and push like mad. And then the rock, and then he saw that the rock is down there. He go down and push. And according to the story, he is still pushing the rock. But if he were to understand the curse is over, he step aside, the rock will fall down the hill, and he is a free man. Can you understand that or not? If he just stepped to the side and let the rock fall down the hill, his problems are over. Just don't go and push the rock anymore. But because he loves the rock, after a few hundred years, he's loved this rock. He cannot see himself not pushing the rock. So he will go down and push it again. And to this day, he's still pushing the rock. What is the significance of the story? The significance of the story is we are like this king. We love the rock. We cannot do without the rock. We love our suffering. We don't want our suffering to stop. We are still pushing the rock. So the decision, my dear Dhamma brothers and sisters, is up to us. Do we want to step aside and let the rock go down so that our suffering is ended? The decision is ours. So with that, I would like to thank you for listening, for your kind attention. And we make the aspiration at the end of this learning. May we find true purpose in our lives and work to achieve it. Sadhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much to Brother Tan Seng Chye. I'd like to see some questions. Anyone from the hall, if you want to ask any question, please raise your hand. I will pass you the microphone, and then if your question is not clear, we will ask the speaker to repeat your question. All right, we have a question over here.
Online.
From the online. Quite long. We are doing wholesome deeds in our family life and also in Buddhist works to help and make people happy or reduce others' burden. But why we still face with people who are unhappy with our work, even our intention is for good? Wow. All right. Let me see whether I can post these questions onto the line.
On the screen.
All right. It's showing the screen now. All right. Brother Sang Chye, whether you can see from the screen?
It's not on my screen.
Not your screen, huh? All right, we'll put it on.
Oh. Okay. Off. Yeah. Yes. Okay, good. Thank you.
I'll repeat the question for those in the hall. We are doing wholesome deeds in our family life and also in Buddhist works to help and make people happy or reduce others people's burden. But why we still face with people who are unhappy with our work, even our intention is for good?
Yes, thank you for this question, brother. I think brother or sister. Yeah. So the statement here is, even though we are doing good, people are unhappy with the good that we are doing. So I would like to break this into two parts. The first part is, when we look at even the Buddha's life, the Buddha had enemies. Such a wonderful, pure person as the Buddha, he had critics. In this life, we cannot avoid criticism. That is the first thing. Yeah, people, no matter what we are doing, how good we are, there will be criticism of what we are doing. People will be unhappy. People will find fault, even though we are doing good things. So the teacher like the Buddha, 2,600 years ago, when the followers of other religions, there were many religious teachers during the Buddha's time. He wasn't the only one. In the Buddhist text, there is mention of 33 other teachers, who had many, many disciples or followers. They are recorded in the Tripitaka. They came and they left their teacher to follow the Buddha. And you can imagine, if you have all these followers, and your followers start leave you and join another teacher, what is your feeling? Oh, he has stolen my students and my disciples. So they get very angry with the Buddha. All the Buddha wanted to do was to teach people how to avoid suffering. So these people, when they heard the Buddha's teaching, this makes sense. This really is meaningful. Yeah, it helps me. So they went to the Buddha. But the original teacher is very, very unhappy. Why you leave me? Now I got less students. I got less supporters. I used to eat very well. Now they give me less things to eat. So they're very, very unhappy. I used to get a lot of donations. Now they are donating my donations cut by more than half. So they are very unhappy and they attack the Buddha. No matter what the Buddha wanted to do, no matter how the Buddha wanted to help people, others were against him. There were those who, they planned to kill the Buddha also. So when they get rid of the Buddha, they got rid of the Buddha, all the disciples will come back to them. Happy, let's try and kill the Buddha. No one could kill the Buddha. Fully enlightened Buddha cannot be killed. They have to die natural causes. So no one actually killed the Buddha, including his own cousin called Devadatta, planned, conspired to kill the Buddha, pushed the rock. The Buddha was sitting at the bottom of the hill, pushed the rock so that this rock will crush the Buddha. It was not successful. So imagine today, if you are a good person, if the Buddha had enemies and critics, if you are just an ordinary human being, you have to expect it. The nature of this life is that not everybody will, number one, understand what you are doing, and number two, not everybody will appreciate what you are doing. Even if you are doing good, people will say you are doing it wrong. Even if your heart is pure and you want to do something, there will be others ready to condemn it. So you must be ready for it. You have to be ready, prepared for comments and criticisms if you want to do good for others. The other part of it is we have to reflect that what we are doing is the right thing also. Are we doing it right? Am I achieving what I want to achieve? Because human beings are very easily satisfied with their own actions, their own thoughts. Human beings don't really want to criticize themselves. They can take criticism from other people, but their own self reflect on what is the strength, what are the weaknesses, what more can I do. Not many people like to do that. Like to take stock of, am I doing it the right way? Am I doing it well? So we have to also look inside. Are there things that I must do more so that I can achieve my purpose? The easiest thing in this world is to do what you are comfortable with. It is what you call, what did we call that now? The space you are, your comfort zone. Comfort zone. We choose our comfort zone and we commit to only that comfort zone. When other things are also needed, which is outside of our comfort zone. That means we need to learn new things. We need to see things in a new light. Then only maybe we can do our job, this thing that we are supposed to do, we can do it better. So we have to learn by self-introspection and self-reflection. Then we can see the full value of what we are doing and how do we do that even better. So that's what I mean by these two aspects. We can always improve ourselves. We can always learn new things. So knowing that, don't close yourself to further improvement. Yeah. You know the pearl from the oyster? Human beings love pearls. We spend a lot of money on pearls. The pearl from the oyster is created when the oyster is out of its comfort zone. That means a small piece of stone or a sand or pebble go inside the oyster. So the oyster doesn't like it. It is out of its comfort zone because previously there is no stone, no sand inside its shell. It's very happy. It lives life in a comfortable way. But because this piece of stone goes into the oyster covers this piece of stone and creates what? Pearl, which we love and prize so much. So beautiful pearls are created by pain. Beautiful pearls are created when this oyster goes out of the comfort zone. We have to remember that. We can become greater oysters and create pearls when we are taken out of our comfort zone. When we are challenged. When we are asked to do more than what we think we can do, which we can actually do a lot to help others, to have a purpose, to reach out, we can do more. So therefore, we have to reflect. And human beings don't like this because it affects their ego. It affects their view of self, personality. But if we really want to improve, we have to look inside. That's the best way. So I hope I've answered this person's question.
All right, very good. Is there any other question? Is there anyone who want to ask a question from the hall? Let me see. Right, yeah, compliments from those online. Thank you very much. Okay, I think with that, we shall end this session of the Q&A. We will move on to the transferring and sharing of merits. Thank you very much for the question and thank you for the speaker. Gratitude to Brother Tan Siang Chye, who has spent his time preparing as usual, a very good Dhamma talk, and many of us really love his talk. Gratitude to those who keep on attending our Sunday Puja, both on the Shrine Hall and those who are following our Facebook and YouTube live. Very good. I'm also very happy that some of them are also sharing with their family members. And we also have people who share the link with their family and friends. That is wonderful. We do that so that we can share the Dhamma everywhere. With the merits accrued, let us dedicate merits to our departed relatives, families, and friends, and all beings. With joy, may they rejoice to our merits. We also must remember those who are not feeling well. We dedicate merits to those who are not feeling well. And this morning, we also would like to dedicate merits to our Venerable Indah Ratana, who is not feeling well since yesterday. May they have a speedy recovery. May they be free from harm and danger. Let's put our palms together. Let's do the sharing transfer of merits together. Akasata cha bummata devanaga mahedika punyantang anumoditwa chirang rakantu lokasasana chirang rakantu desanang Chirang rakantu mang parang Ettavata cha amhehi Sambadang punya sambadang Sabbe deva sabbe satta Sabbe bhuta anumodantu Sabba sampati siddhya Idang menyatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo Idang menyatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo Idang menyatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo Imang no punya bagang mata pitunancha acharya nancha sabba satanancha sabba mitanancha sabba nyatinancha sabba petanancha sabba devatanancha Bajema Imang no punya bagang Sabba satanang dema Sabe sata sukita hontu Imina punya kamena Mame balasamagamo Satang samagamo hotu Yava nibbana patiya Idang me punyang asawakaya wahang hotu Idang me punyang nibbanasa pacayo hotu Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Brothers and sisters, before we end up this morning's puja, let us pay homage to the Triple Gem. Buddhang bujemi Dhammang pujemi Sanghang pujemi Thank you very much to all of you who have participated in Buddha Puja, especially those who have participated till the end of the session with the dedication of merits. To those who have been following on online with us, we have come to the end of this morning 101 online puja. Do visit our Facebook and watch out on the WhatsApp message to visit us again next week, Sunday morning, 9th of October. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. For partaking in this puja, may you and family be safe, well and happy and peaceful always. Blessed and protected by the Triple Gems. Please continue to stay safe, stay cautious, drive safely. For those who are going back, Sukhi Hontu and goodbye. Sabbe Sata Sukhita Hontu.
Bahung sahan semabhinim mita sayudantang ngirimi kelang udita Sasena ධානාදි ධම්ම විදිනා ජීත